Hello everyone, this is the KingKong, or LDARC, tiny7. It has 7mm motors. Looks like it's 73mm motor to motor. 600 TV line camera. 16 channel 25mm VTX. Comes with an MCPX connector, also known as a power whoop connector. Fully programmable flight controller, running Betaflight 3.0.1. Mine came in an FrSky XM receiver. It weighs 31.97 grams. It comes with G&B batteries. They're 450 milliamp. Each battery weighs 13.4 grams. Comes with extra canopies, extra props, a little hardware kit, prop remover, field charger, a tiny manual, and instructions for your receiver. This is what it looks like next to the classic Tiny Whoop, the Delrin Whoop, the Hoverbot, and the Tiny6.
You and me are bored of regularities, living all the dreams, playing all the games, and getting high on love. They can chase us down, but we will always win. Leading every dance, feeling every touch, and getting high on love. We're invincible. Trust in me, we're invincible. Don't you see, we're invincible. Let's escape the gray and let the colors rain. Turn the shit we do and our words into pure reality. 'Cause you and me are meant to be what they don't see. Never feeling wrong 'cause we don't belong. And getting high enough, we're invincible. Trust in me, we're invincible. Don't you see, we're invincible. We're invincible. We're invincible. We're invincible.
A couple of things I did change to make it kind of my own and make it operate how I want it to operate was, one, I increased the camera angle, and I have a spare canopy out to show you this. You can see this camera housing is kind of substantial, really, and the glue they use is very good. The camera does not want to come out, and that makes using these canopies possibly an issue. But anyways, what I did was I took my thumb and I stuck it on the backside of the camera because it's glued to the backside, and I just pushed forward as hard as I could, and I put my fingers out here on the edge around the camera itself, and I would just push and push, and you would hear it snap and crackle, and that's kind of the glue breaking loose, maybe a little bit the plastic, and I would just do that a number of times until I got it where it was kind of malleable, and then I took a little bit of hot glue. It was kind of a risky operation, so I let the camera relax. I had my hot glue good and warm, put a little glob on each side, then shoved it forward and held that until the hot glue set, and that gave me the camera tilt that you see there. And you can get slightly more without modification, but there's not much left up there. I think I got about as much out as I could without actually doing some modifications to the canopy. I also modified my pigtail. It does come with a power whoop connector, but the gauge of wire that they have on there is really, really tiny, like 28 or something like that. It's really, really small stuff. And really, to take full advantage of the MCPX connector or the power whoop connector or the PH 2.0 connector, we really need a little bit of a thicker gauge wire. So I went ahead and put this 24 gauge connector on there, and you can see I add a little extension because the connector I had left was a little bit short for our purposes, and the connection is right here on top. You can actually kind of see that down through the canopy there, hopefully. We've got positive on this side, and then we've got negative on this. Well, it's not far, it's kind of next to, but it's clearly marked on the board. If you wanted to do that, it shouldn't be much of an issue. Just be sure, don't touch your plastic with your iron or it will melt right away. I thought the range was good. The question I think it's going to come up if you're looking at these things is going to be, which one? The tiny6 or the tiny7? And they're very, very similar because there's not much difference. I think the frame on this one is going to hold up better to more crashes. We can see we've got a lot more support in between the hoops that we just don't have with this little guy. We're also running bigger motors. These are the 7mm motors. We're running bigger props, but they still fly very, very similarly. And in the video, I was flying in angle mode. And what I do when I'm flying in angle mode is if you go into the page where you can change the strength of the leveling, the self-leveling that goes on the where it uses the gyroscope, you can change the strength of that. And I turned it down to, I think, 25 on mine. And that smooths your flight out a little bit and gives you a little bit more of an acro feel. I did try it in acro, but the motors just don't quite respond like I need to in order to be able to fly like I want to fly inside the house. I can do it on brushless. On certain machines like that are brushed, I can do it. I could do it, but the flight, I think, would be kind of boring. Look at that. I've got a hair. So you may see that on the camera. You may not, but there's a hair right there, probably a carpet hair, or pet hair, or person hair. These are the sort of things that shorten your life on your motors. So periodically, I don't know if you can see that at all. Camera won't focus on that little thing. Periodically taking the props off and looking isn't such a bad idea, or at the very least do a visual inspection, especially if you're around a lot of animals or people or carpet. I think the tiny7 will allow you to fly in different conditions if you want to do any sort of flying outside. I think if you're flying with the tiny6, it's going to have to be extraordinarily calm to fly it outside at all. The tiny7 can handle some winds. As a matter of fact, I did fly it outside in some relatively strong winds. We would have gusts above 12 to 15 miles an hour during that flight that you're looking at, and it was a challenge to manage, but I am quite certain that it would have just blown this thing straight to the ground or straight to the moon. I'm not sure which, just because this is so lightweight and these motors just can't respond quite enough to counteract a wind of that strength. So if you have any plans on flying outside, this is probably your better option. But if you're wanting to enter tiny whoop races, I don't think you can fly with this one. I think you have to choose the 6mm one. I don't think they do tiny whoop races with a 7mm motor. I could be wrong on that, so do your homework and check that out. So if that's something you're interested in and you can do a 7mm motor, then by all means you probably should. But if not, this is probably going to be your vehicle of choice. I think it's shouldn't be understated that switching to these batteries was probably a really good move by KingKong or LDARC, whatever their name is this week. These are, if you haven't been around the channel, you know I'm an advocate of these batteries. These are one of the few batteries you can get kind of globally that we can buy from Banggood or various other sources. The G&B blue and silver, not black and silver. The black and silvers, the red and black, they perform dramatically differently than the blue and silvers. The blue and silvers are some of the best batteries around for micro batteries, that is. And not just in 1S in this one, but you can go on to 2 and 3S, and they are very good batteries. I can't speak to their 4S batteries because I have not tried them yet. But I think this was a really good move, and I think just this itself, I think, should add some value to the kit because you don't have to fart around with a battery that just doesn't perform very well. And this battery was one of the primary reasons that I wanted to change my lead out, because I wanted to make full use of any amperage that we can get out of this battery. Never mind the C ratings, that's all marketing mumbo-jumbo, but it is a good battery. I'll have links down in the description to both of these if you'd like to look at them. Check them out and maybe make a purchase of your own. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please leave those in the section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.